विनोद बिहारी जू की जाय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जाय। नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोक्षरस बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्य प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानुगुप्रिय गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। श्री विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर की जय। सारथ-दर्शिनी वृत्ति की जय। श्री नित्य प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मद श्री भक्ति हृदय बन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। तदीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। श्री रामानुजाचार्य की जय। तदीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीभक्तिवेदान्त नारायणेति नामिने। नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनेति नामिने। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदन्तस्तो यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना। इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीन अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना। वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दं। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, everybody. Dandavat Pranams, Indira Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Gargaraj ji, Raseshwari Mataji, Madhavi Didi, and Rukmini Didi. Dandavat Pranams, everybody. All right, so now continuing on from our last reading, let's see. Okay, I'm not going to go over, because I already read through this whole thing yesterday, like from the beginning, so I'm just going to start from here. Understanding the curse on the Yadu dynasty and the imminent disappearance of Krishna, Vasudeva became anxious. He approached Narad Muni for enlightenment. Narad instructed him by narrating a conversation between King Nimi and the Navayogendras. Once, during their travels, the Navayogendras had come to see the sacrifice of Nimi. Nimi had asked them 9 glorious questions, each one of which was answered by one of the 9 great sages. So he asked questions on Bhakti, on the Bhakta, on Maya, on Mukti, on Bhagavan, on Karma Yoga, on the Lord's avatars, on who is not a devotee, a Bhakta, on the Yuga avatars, and this is where we read all about from Golden Volcano of Divine Love, and also from my Gurudev's Bhajanahasya, all about Kara Bhajana's response, where he gives indication, a very clear indication of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so thus, having heard the science of bhakti from the Navayogendras, Nimi felt extremely satisfied and worshipped them. Fixed in the spiritual principles received, Nimi achieved the supreme goal. Having thus narrated this enlivening conversation of Nimi and the Navayogendras, Narad spoke to Vasudeva. Apply these principles of bhakti faithfully, and you will attain the Supreme Lord. You and your wife Devaki are pure and glorious, because the Supreme Lord has become your son and associated with you in various intimate ways. Do not think of Krishna as an ordinary human. He is the Supreme Lord, concealing his inconceivable opulence. He descended to punish the demoniac and protect the devoted. Hearing the teachings of Narad Muni, Vasudeva and Devaki gave up all illusion and became freed from anxiety. Now we come to the last meeting. Thereafter, Lord Brahma and the other demigods came to Dwarka and offered their respects to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, anticipating his imminent disappearance. Addressing Brahma, Lord Krishna disclosed that he would soon depart from this world after withdrawing the Yadu dynasty, having already made the arrangements for that through the curse of the sages. Understanding Krishna's plan, Uddhav, the unalloyed devotee and dearest friend of Krishna, was overwhelmed with separation and anxiety. Uddhav approached Krishna with folded hands, pleading to take him along to his spiritual abode. During his manifest pastimes on the earth, Krishna had exchanges with several of his devotees at Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, Indraprastha, Hastinapur, Mithila, and so on. He had also graced the heavenly planets with his presence and gave darshan to Aditi and Kashyapa during the Parijata tree episode. He had visited the lower planets to retrieve Sandipani Muni's son, and he also met Bali Maharaj and Yamaraj there. He even went to Vaikuntha and met Mahavishnu and others on the plea of retrieving the sons of a Brahmin in Dwarka. One place where Krishna hadn't personally visited during his earthly sojourn, however, was Badarikashram, where the great sages Nara Narayan resided. With his departure due now, Krishna wanted Uddhav to go and enlighten the sages at Badarikashram on his behalf. Krishna considered Uddhav as good as his own self and thus imparted confidential teachings, called the Uddhav Gita to him. This Uddhav Gita forms the longest philosophical section of this magnum opus literature, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. In it, Krishna spoke about bhakti, jnana, and vairagya to teach us through Uddhav. So Uddhav, and then begins the Uddhav Gita. Equal vision. Krishna spoke to Uddhav. Dear Uddhav, okay, so we already read this section. Krishna spoke to Uddhav. Dear Uddhav, my mission here is complete. As I depart, you too should not remain here, as the earth would be bereft of all piety in Kali Yuga, with people addicted to sinful life. Give up all attachments, fix your mind on me, and see everything with an equal vision and renounced spirit. Becoming one's own guru. Hearing about the renounced spirit suggested by Krishna, Uddhav asked, how to cultivate such detached vision, since renunciation is difficult for ordinary people who are attached to sense enjoyment? Krishna answered, an intelligent person can analyze the worldly situation by perception, common sense, and logic to rise above sense enjoyment. By inculcating certain principles and avoiding certain activities, one can search out and ultimately attain me, the Supreme Lord. Therein lies the glory of human life. King Yadu had once seen a young Avadhūta Brahman, Lord Dattatreya. So this is where we read up to. Let's read on from this point now. Let's just see the previous verse. So annoying when it does that. Okay. And Krishna is saying, right? The Supreme Lord said, generally, those human beings who understand the actual truth are able to deliver themselves from the desire for sense objects by their intelligence. An intelligent person, acting as his own guru, can achieve great benefit by perception and logic. In the human form of life, those who are without envy and are experts in jnana and bhakti can directly see me, endowed with all of my energies. In this world, there are many kinds of created bodies, some with 1 leg, others with 2, 3, 4, or more legs, and still others with no legs. But of all of these, the human form is actually dear to me. Engaged in bhakti, they search for me, the Lord, directly by the processes like hearing and chanting. But I am not attained by inference using indicators and intelligence. Important point. Bhagavan is not attained by inference. I don't know what that means, using indicators, but and intelligence. He's not. Okay, so now we read on from this point. Uddhav Gita ki jai, Rukmini says. In this, atrapyudaharanti mam itihasam puratanam avadhutasya sangvadam yadur amita tejasam. In this regard, sages cite a historical narration concerning the conversation between the greatly powerful King Yadu and an Avadhūta. Sārārtha-darśīni commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Atra api here means on the topic of being realized as Paramatma through inference. The sages recite a story. Okay, so we're going to hear a story on the topic of being realized as Paramatma through inference. Okay. Avadhūtam diyam kanchit charantam akuto bhayam kavim niriksha tarunam yadupapracha dharmavit. Maharaj Yadu once observed a young learned Brahman Avadhūta who was wandering about fearlessly. Being himself most learned in Dharma, the king inquired from him as follows. So Maharaj Yadu is inquiring from the Brahman Avadhūta. Kuto buddhiriyam brahman akartu suvisharada yam asadya babalokam vidvangscharati balavat. Yadu said, O Brahmana, where have you attained your great intelligence, by which you wander the earth like a child, not engaged in work? Prayo dharmartha kameshu vivitsayam cha manava hetunaiva samihanta ayusho yashasa shriya. Generally, human beings work hard to cultivate religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and also knowledge of the soul to increase the duration of their lives, acquire fame, and enjoy wealth. People generally engage in artha, dharma, kama, and reflection on the atma for a long life. Fame, and wealth. Tvam tu kalpa kavir daksha subhago mritta bhashana nakarta nehase kinchij jadon mata pishachavat. You, however, although capable, learned, expert, handsome, and most eloquent, are not engaged in doing anything, nor do you desire anything. Rather, you appear stupefied and maddened, as if haunted. Commentary. You do not perform any actions, you do not desire anything. You are capable of doing things, and you have knowledge, skill, and a good body. You can desire a beautiful wife. You can speak to anyone because you speak nicely. But you remain like a dumb person, not doing anything. Janeshu dahyamaneshu kamalobhadavagnina natapyase gnina mukto gangambhasta iva dvipaha. Although all people within the material world are burning in the great forest fire of lust and greed, you remain free and are not burned by that fire. You are just like an elephant who takes shelter from a forest fire by standing within the water of the Ganga river. Commentary. Why are you not afflicted with lust though you are young? Tvam hina prichatam brahman atmanyanandakaranam bruhi sparsha vihinasya bhavata kevalatmanam. O Brahmana, we see that you are devoid of any contact with material enjoyment and that you are traveling alone. Therefore, because we are sincerely inquiring from you, please tell us the cause of the great ecstasy that you are feeling within yourself. Commentary. Where does your bliss come from? He asks because hearing directly from a person is the best way to get the truth. You are devoid of material attachment. You are devoid of material enjoyment, and you live alone. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Yadunaiva Mahabhago Brahmanyena Sumedhasa Prishta Sabhajita Praha Prashrayavanatam Dvija. Lord Krishna continued, when the intelligent King Yadu, always respectful to the Brahmanas, asked and honored the Brahmana replied to the humble king. Commentary. By his service, he brought the Brahmana under control. His intelligence attracted the Brahmana. For these reasons, the Brahmana replied, Shri Brahmana Uvacha Santi me Guruvo Rajan Bahava Buddhupashrita Eto Buddhim Upadaya mukto tam ihatan shrinu. The Brahmana said, O king, with my intelligence I have taken shelter of many gurus. Having gained understanding from them, I now wander about the earth, free from suffering. Please listen as I describe them to you. Commentary. I have taken shelter of intelligence, not instructions from someone else. I am liberated from the suffering of samsara. Prithvi vayurakasham apognish-chandrama ravi kapoto jagara sindhu patango madhukrid kajam madhuha harinomina pingala kuraror bhaka kumari sharakrit sarpa Urnanabhi supe shakrit. Ete me guravo rajan chaturvingshatirashrita shikshavritti bhire ete sham anaviksham ihatmana. O king, I have taken shelter of 24 gurus who are the following: the earth, air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon, python, the sea, moth, the honeybee, the elephant, a honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute Pingala, the kurara bird, a child. Haribol, everybody. Thanks for waiting by. The power just went out, so let me just check. The sound is still working good. Okay, great. I'm on my mobile data, so let me know if the connection ever gets choppy. Man, if somebody wrote comments, I didn't see them, so you can write them again. The last comment I saw, Rukmini said, Uddhav Geet Ki Jai. Okay. Okay, so maybe I should reread this, right? Just in case it cut out before this. O king, I have taken shelter of 24 gurus, who are the following: the earth, air, sky, water, fire, moon, sun, pigeon, python, the sea, moth, honeybee, elephant, honey thief, the deer, the fish, the prostitute Pingala, the kurara bird, a child, a young girl, an arrow, a serpent, a spider, and a wasp. My dear king, by studying their activities, I have learned things to be known about the self. Commentary. By their activities, I have learned things to be known about the self. Yato yad anushikshami yatava nahushatmaja tat tata purushasya vyagra nibodha katayamite. O son of Maharaj Yayati, O tiger among men, please listen as I describe to you what I have learned from each of these gurus. bhutar akramyamanopi dhiro daiva vashanugai tar vidvan na chalen margar anvashikam kshiter vratam. A sober person, even when harassed by other living beings, should understand that his aggressors are acting under the control of their own karma, and thus he should never be distracted from progress on his own path. This rule I have learned from the earth. Commentary. I have learned tolerance from the earth. An intelligent person understands that all beings are under the control of the devatas and the pitris. Shashvat, sorry guys, I'm gonna stand up once, like in a minute. Shashvat parartha sarveha, pararthaikanta sambhava, sadhu shiksheta bhubhrityo, nagashishya paratmanam. A saintly person should learn from the mountain. A saintly person should learn from the mountain to devote all his efforts to the service of others, and to make the welfare of others the sole reason for his existence. He speaks of the mountain and the tree, which also represents the earth. The mountain always devotes its efforts to others by holding up the earth, producing waterfalls, and giving jewels. The devotee should learn this conduct from the mountain. As the disciple of the tree, he should learn to dedicate himself completely to others. One can take the tree from one place to another, plant it and water it. The tree accepts this and does not protest. The yogi should be like that. This is the particular nature of the tree which is not seen in the mountain. Okay, now I'm gonna stand up. Just give me a second. All right. One second, just clearing a spot here. Uh-oh. Okay, the mic's back. Let me switch it. Thanks guys for waiting for me. Now I won't fall asleep. Okay. Pranavrittaiva santushyen munir naivendriya priyai jnanam yatha nashashyeta navakirte tavanmana. A learned sage should not take his satisfaction with the actions of his pran, and should not seek satisfaction through the sense objects. In other words, one should care for the material body in such a way that one's higher knowledge is not destroyed, and so that one's speech and mind are not deviated from self-realization. Commentary. There are two types of air, prana and the external air. This verse speaks of what he learned from prana. Prana operates by eating and other actions, and is not dependent on the objects of the senses, like form and taste. By doing this, he becomes a sage. Gyan will be destroyed by disturbance of the mind caused by disruption of the prana. Therefore, one should maintain the body by eating, etc., but in such a way that speech and mind will not create disturbances for gyan. The mind will become disturbed by eating coarse or impure food. The mind and speech will be agitated by food which is too oily, because of increase in laziness and semen. Vishayeshva vishanyogi nana dharmeshu sarvata guna dosha vyapetatma na vishajeta vayuvat. The yogi, indifferent to good and bad qualities, though contacting sense objects of various qualities, is not attached to them, just like the air. Air is not attached to anything. Commentary. Though one indulges in sense objects, one remains unattached to them. One learns this from the external air. The yogi contacts objects which are light or heavy, excellent or inferior, but is not attached to any of them. The air is not attached to either to a dark cave or a blazing fire. Okay, so now the Wi-Fi came back. I'm going to switch over to Wi-Fi now. So I'm going to appear for a second and I'll come back. Okay, Haribo. Oh, I lost a bunch of people. Oh no. I was just going for a second. Anyways, sorry about that. Let me share my screen again. There was 12 people, 10 or 12 or 11 people, and now there's only 6. Anyways, that's unfortunate. Okay. Now, Parthiveshviha deheshu pravishtastar gunashraya gunar nayujate yogi gandharvayur ivatmadrik. Although a self-realized soul may live in various material bodies while in this world, experiencing their various qualities and functions, he is never entangled by those qualities, just as the wind, which carries various aromas, does not actually mix with them. Commentary. One should learn from the air that one should remain unattached to the qualities of the body. The air does not mix with good or bad fragrance, though it is aware of them by contacting them. Though the yogi is aware of his contact with the qualities of the body, he is not those qualities, because he sees that the Atma is different from them. Antarhitascha stira jangameshu brahmatma bhavena samanvayena vyaptya vyavachedam asangamatmano munirna bhastvam vitatasya bhavayet. The yogi should meditate on Paramatma, spreading everywhere and undivided as the medium called Brahman in all moving and non-moving beings, inside and outside, similar to ether. One should meditate on Paramatma, who is spread everywhere, and Paramatma, who is completely undivided. And he is the medium called Brahman in all moving and non-moving beings. Paramatma is inside and outside, similar to ether. Okay. Commentary. Seeing the ether, one learns that though Paramatma is inside and outside of everything, he is not attached to anything. This is explained in 2 verses. The yogi should meditate with intelligence on Paramatma, who is like ether, pervading everywhere, inside and outside. Paramatma is undivided, spreading everywhere as the connecting medium in the form of Brahman in all moving and non-moving beings, just as ether, though pervading everywhere, does not mix with the pot or other objects and does not become divided. Tejo Banna Maya. I don't know if that says Banna. That's weird. Never seen that before. Let's just check on folio. Oh, sorry, on This is chapter 7. What verse was that? That was 43. Okay. Okay, it's the same there also. Interesting. Tejo banna mayar bhavar meghadyar vayuneritai nasprishyate nabhastarvat kala shrishtar gunai puman. Just as ether is not touched by clouds blown by the wind, the jiva is not touched by the body made of fire, water, and earth by time. So the jiva is never touched by time or by the body, which is created by time. Okay. Commentary. Sorry. It says the jiva is not touched by the body made of fire, water, earth, and air by time. Commentary. The jiva is not touched by the body, etc., which is created by time, composed of fire, water, and earth, just as ether is not touched by the clouds blown by the wind. Svachan pakritita snigdo madhuryastirtha bhurnrinam muni punatyapam mitram iksho pasparsha kirtanai. Like water, the devotee is pure by nature, affectionate to people, sweet in speech, and purifying to all people by being seen, touched, and glorified. Commentary. He learns from water. Similar to water, the devotee is pure, by nature friendly to people, speaks sweetly, and purifies people by giving instructions on bhakti. Instead of apam, the word agad is also found. The sentence then means, he purifies a friend of sin. He is similar to water, which has qualities of purity, friendliness, and purity. Tejasvi tapasadipto durdharsho darabhajana sarvabhaksho piyuktatma nadatte malamagnivat. He who is like fire, who glows with austerity, who cannot be agitated, who eats only enough to fill his stomach, and who is not contaminated though he eats everything, becomes a true yogi. Commentary. 3 verses describe what he learned from fire. He cannot be agitated and eats to fill his stomach. He becomes a yogi. Kvachit channa kvachit spanta upasya shreya ichatam bhunkte sarvatra datrinam dahan prag uttara shubham. A saintly person, just like fire, sometimes appears in a concealed form and at other times reveals himself. That saintly person is worshipped by those desiring the highest benefit. And like fire, he burns to ashes all the past and future sinful reactions of his worshippers. He burns to ashes all the past and future sinful reactions of his worshippers by mercifully accepting their offerings. Swamayaya shishtam idam sarasa lakshanam vibho pravishta iyate tat swarupognir ivaivdhasi. Just as fire enters and manifests in pieces of wood of different sizes and qualities, the Supreme Lord, having entered the universe with its higher and lower life forms, created by his own potency, manifests his form there. Commentary. Just as fire enters wood and manifests by rubbing, the Lord enters the universe and manifests by repeated hearing and chanting. Wow, that's a really cool example. Fire manifests by rubbing wood together, and the Lord manifests by repeated hearing and chanting. Visargadya shmashanata bhava dehasya natmana kalanam iva chandrasya kalena vyaktavartmana. The various phases of one's material life, beginning with birth and culminating in death, are all properties of the body and do not affect the soul, just as the apparent waxing and waning of the moon does not affect the moon itself. Such changes are enforced by the imperceptible movements of time. Commentary. The conditions of birth and death are states of the body, not the soul, just as the appearance and disappearance of the moon belong to its 15 phases and not to the moon itself. Kalena yogavegena bhutanam prabhavapyayo nityav api na drishyete atmanogner yatarchisam. Because of time, which has the speed of the wind, the constant birth and death of living entities related to oneself are not seen, just as the appearance and disappearance of flames and fire are not seen. Commentary. He learns renunciation from fire. The order is reversed, and again fire is explained in the manner of Singha Valokana, a lion glancing back. One does not see the birth and death of beings related to oneself. Archisham means of flames. Gunar gunan upadatte yatha kalam vimunchati nateshu yujate yogi gobhirga iva gopati. The yogi accepts objects by his senses and, at an appropriate time, gives them away without attachment, just as the sun draws water by its rays and then disperses it without attachment. Commentary. 2 verses explain what he learned from the sun. The yogi accepts sense objects by the senses, and when persons come with requests at some time, he gives away those items. He is not attached to them. He does not think, this was obtained by me and this was given by me. He is like the sun, which takes up water using its rays. Buddhyate svena bhedena vyaktista eva targata lakshyate stulamati bhir atma chavastitor kavat. Paramatma is understood to be situated. Paramatma is understood, to be situated along with his shaktis, just as the sun is situated with its shaktis. However, unintelligent people consider the Paramatma to be identical to his shaktis. Commentary. Paramatma is understood to be situated with its parts, the Swarup Shakti, the Maya Shakti, and the Jiva Shakti, just as the sun is situated with its parts, its globe, the clouds, and its rays. Persons with no intelligence will consider the sun to be situated in its rays or the clouds, like a newly produced object. Paramatma seems to be separate in different bodies due to visible coverings, just as the sun appears to be a separate entity by water and other elements. Let me check the comments. Okay. Nati sneha prasango va kartavya kvapi kenachit kurvan vindeta sapta santapam kapota eva dinadhi. One should never indulge in excessive affection or concern for anyone or anything. Otherwise, one will have to experience great suffering, just like the foolish pigeon. Commentary. He learns from the pigeon. Prasanga means fondling, etc. Kapota kashtanaryanye krita nirdo vanaspato kapotya bharyaya sardham uvasa katichit sama. There once was a pigeon who lived in the forest along with his wife. He had built a nest within a tree and lived there for several years in her company. Kaputo snehagunita hridayo griha dharmino drishtim drishtangamangena buddhim buddhya babandatu. The 2 pigeons, attached to their household duties, their hearts tied together by affection, were bound together by the other's glances, bodily features, and intelligence. Shayasanantana sthana varta kridasanadikam mithune bhuya vishrabdo cheratur vanarajishu. Trusting each other, they carried out their acts of resting, sitting, walking, standing, conversing, playing, eating, and so forth among the trees of the forest. Yang yang vanchanti sarajan tarpayantyanukampita tang tang samanayat kamam krichrenapyachitendriya. Whenever she desired anything, O king, her husband, with no sense control, would gratify her by faithfully doing whatever she wanted, even with great personal difficulty. Kapoti pratamam garbham grananti kala agate andani sushuve nirde stapatyu sannidosati. Then the female pigeon experienced her first pregnancy. When the time arrived, the chaste lady delivered a number of eggs within the nest in the presence of her husband. Teshu kale vyajayanta rachita vyayavahare shaktibhir durvibhavyabhi komalangatanurruha. When the time was ripe, baby pigeons with tender limbs and feathers created by the inconceivable potencies of the Lord were born from those eggs. Prajapupushatu prito tampati putravatsalo shrinvato kujitam tasam nirvrito kalabhashitai. The two pigeons became most affectionate to their children and took great pleasure in listening to their awkward chirping, which sounded very sweet to the parents. Thus, with love, they began to raise the little birds who were born. Of them. Tasam patatraisu sparshai kujitar mugda cheshtitai pratyud kamar adinanam pitaro mudamapatu. The parent birds became very joyful by observing the soft wings of their joyful children, their chirping, their lovely innocent movements around the nest, and their attempts to jump up and fly. Commentary. Adinanam means joyful. Kishore, are you going for prasad now? Okay. Snehan, I'll go, I'm almost done. Snehanubaddhariddayav anyonyam vishnumayaya vimohito dinadhiyo shishun pupushatur praja. Their hearts bound to each other by affection, the foolish birds, completely bewildered by the illusory energy of Vishnu, continued to take care of the young offspring. Commentary. They took care of their young offspring. Ekada jagmatustasam anartam to kutumbino parita kanane tasmin artino cheratushchiram. One day, the two heads of the family went out to find food for the children. Being very anxious to feed their offspring properly, they wandered all over the forest for a long time. Drishtva tan lubdhaka kaschir yadrichato vane chara jagrihe jalamatatya charata swalayantike. At that time, a hunter who happened to be wandering through the forest saw the young pigeons moving about near their nest. Spreading out his net, he captured them all. Commentary. He caught the young birds who were wandering about near their nest. Kaputascha kaputicha prajaposhe sadotsuko kato poshanam adaya swanidam upajagamatu. The pigeon and his wife, always anxious for the maintenance of their children, had gone to the forest, and, bringing food, they returned to their nest. Commentary. Poshanam means food. Kapoti svatmajan vikshya balakan jalasamvritan tan abhyadhavat kroshanti kroshato bhrishadukita. When the lady pigeon caught sight of her own children trapped within the hunter's net, overwhelmed with anguish and crying out, she rushed toward them as they cried out to her in return. Oh, so sad. Sasakrit snehagunita dena chitta jamayaya swayam cha baddhata shicha baddhan pasyantyapasmriti. Bound by the ropes of intense affection by the Lord's Maya, the foolish female pigeon, forgetting the danger while looking at her captured children, became bound in the hunter's net. Commentary. Seeing her children bound up, she became forgetful and fell into lamentation and became caught in the net. Kapota swatmajan baddhan atmanopyadhikan priyan bharyam chatma samam dino vilalapati dukhita. Seeing his own children, who were dearer to him than life itself, fatally bound in the hunter's net along with his dear wife, whom he considered equal to himself, the poor male pigeon began to wail and lament in great grief. Huh? There's video. Sorry. The word cha indicates he lamented. Aho me pashyata payam alpa punyasya durmate atriptasya kritarthasya grihastrai vargiko hata. The male pigeon said, "Alas, just see how I am now destroyed. I am obviously a great fool, for I did not properly execute pious activities, and thus I could not satisfy myself, nor could I fulfill the promise of life. My dear family, which was the basis of my religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, is now hopelessly ruined. Anurupanukulacha yasya me pati devata shunya grihe mam santyajya putrai swar yati sadhubhi." She was suitable and faithful, accepting me as her deity, but seeing her home empty, she has left me behind and gone to heaven with her saintly children. Soham shunya grihe dino. Oh, sorry. Soham shunya grihe dino mrita daro mrita praja jiji vishe kimartam va vidhuro dukha jivita. Now I am a wretched person living in an empty home. My wife is dead. My children are dead. Why should I possibly want to live? Pained by separation from my family, I find that life itself has become simply suffering. Tangstatai vavritam shigbhir mrityu grastan vicheshtata swayam cha kripana shikshu pashyan apya buddho patat. As the father pigeon wretchedly stared at his poor, motionless children trapped in the net and on the verge of death, he lost his intelligence and also fell into the hunter's net. Commentary. Seeing the motionless children in the net, he also fell in the net. Tam labdva lubdaka kurura kapotam grihamedhinam kapoting cha siddhartha prayayo griham. The cruel hunter, having fulfilled his desire by capturing the attached pigeon, his wife and all of their children, he set off for his home. Evam kutumbya shantatma dvandvarama patatritvat pushnan kutumbam kripana sanubandho vasidati. In this way, One who is too attached to family life, having a disturbed heart, finds pleasure in dualities, and like the pigeon, maintains his family. The miserly person in this way suffers greatly along with his family. Ya prapta manusham lokam mukti dvaram apavritam griheshu kagavat saktas tam arudhachutam vidu. The doors of liberation are opened wide to one who has achieved human life. But if a human being simply devotes himself to family life like the foolish bird in this story, then he is to be considered like a person who, having climbed up to a high place, falls down. Thus ends the commentary on the 7th chapter of the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. All right, so tomorrow we will hear the story of Pingala. That was such a sad story, the story of the pigeon family. Oh, okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashata Rashata Shishmad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Shila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki Jai. Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Rupa Anuga Guru Varga ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Surup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Shila Haridas Ṭhākura ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pirata Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Radha Kund Shamakuni Munaganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Jai. Shri Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura ki Jai. Sārārtha-darśīni Vritti ki Jai. Shri Uddhav Git ki Jai. Uddhav Samvar ki Jai. Shri Harinam what is it? Today is Shri Ramanujacharya ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki Jai. Shila Bhakti Hriday Ban Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashachaya Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyai Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Haribol Sudevi Didi Rukmini Didi Indira Mataji. Indira Mataji says, it's not sad, it's just reality. Maybe reality is sad. Yes, it is. Totally. All right. And what I'm starting to do now, tomorrow is, no, not tomorrow. In 4 days will be Ram Navami. And then also the appearance day of Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Gosai Maharaj. Rukmini's Gurudev. And then in 7 days from now is Vyanjali Mahadvadashi. And in 11 days is the Rasa Yatra of Lord Balaram. It's also Purnima. All right. See you all tomorrow to read about the story of Pingala. Dandavat Pranams. Hari Bol.